Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the East Lyme Board of Finance regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 14th, 2023. The time is 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is delegations. Delegations is where members of the public can address the Board of Finance on any of the items before us tonight on our agenda. Is there anyone from the public who wants to address? I don't see anyone. Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 10th, 2023?
Approval of the minutes of the Board of Finance and the regular meeting on May 10th, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion, corrections, questions? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes of May 10th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? The motion carries 5-0-0. Next, is there a motion to approve the May 24?
Approval of the minutes of the Board of Finance for the special meeting on May 24th, 2023.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? No? All those in favor of approving the minutes of the special meeting of May 24th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Can I can't abstain. We don't. Oh yeah, I can abstain because we have enough people to vote. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm going
So
to abstain.
then the motion carries 4-0-1. Next, our reports. We have Mr. Sherry, our first selectman here.
Good evening, Kevin Sawyer, First Selectman. Of biggest interest for you, probably charter revision. We have the final draft copy from the commission, the Charter Revision Commission. They'll be presenting, or actually we'll be having our public hearing on the revisions to the charter on the 21st of the month at 6:30 right here in this room. That will be followed by us discussing it. That's the only agenda item we have that night, except for an executive session at the end, so that we can confer with the Charter Revision Commission, and then we can provide input to them as far as, yes, we're good with this, or maybe we'd like them to change something. If we do that, they're going to meet right after that in conference room 1 and take into consideration anything we've asked. They can say, yep, we agree with you, or no, we're leaving it as is, and then they come back to us with the final, then like that, the final report later on. The one thing we did here at the public hearing for the charter revision that the commission had, was there weren't many people there, but all of them, there were 4 people, or all 4 comments said, leave the referendum, the automatic referendum alone. The feeling was, even though we only like 700 or 800 people sometimes vote in it, that's far more than it would normally turn out at an annual town meeting. And that here again, it might be tough to get to a meeting and spend an hour at it at night, but you can find 5 minutes to go vote during the course of the day. Talking to town staff that would be dealing with this, they said we'd have to budget for it anyway, because one of the things they're recommending is setting a percent threshold to where if it hits a certain percent, then it goes to automatic referendum. Well, not knowing going into the year, you're going to have to budget for that. And then you always have the ability to, even if there is no referendum, to petition for it. So the feedback from the clerk's office and the registrars, it's easier to prepare for it if you know it's an automatic referendum. And those are the comments we've gotten, so we'll be talking about that. This commission has done a fantastic job. They've done a great job over the last several months doing this. They took their work seriously, and their presentation was really good, and I'm sure we're looking forward to a good one on the 21st. Moving on, Route 161, exit 74 is going on. Sometimes they're going a little later in the morning than they anticipate. Sometimes if you're digging up the road, you can't finish on a certain time, so sometimes it's 7 or 7:30. There might still be some road lane closures because of work going on, but they've been really good to update everybody on everything. And very soon, if you go online to the project, you'll be able to click on a video, and it'll be a simulation of what it's going to look like from start to finish. It'll be bringing you down northbound on 95, getting off, looking at the whole thing, and coming around. It's really impressive. I saw it. It wasn't quite done, but it's a very impressive diagram or depiction of what it's going to look like. I mentioned last time we came in $150,000 under in the water tank, and we're going to put a scallop shell on it until we found out that what we wanted to put down violated zoning regs. So we can't put one up there because it would be about the size of the calendar and nobody could see it anyway, so we're not doing that right now. Correct, Ben? Yeah. Too bad. Some positive things this past weekend, or last couple weekends, or Niantic Playhouse has been showing the play Murder on the Orient Express. It's really impressive. Denise and I were at the one Saturday night. It's very enjoyable. It's probably about 95% full, which is great for downtown, not only for the Playhouse, but for the merchants and the restaurants. So it was really good. It's got one more weekend to go, and then they'll be following that up in July with Addams Family, then Steel Magnolias, and then Christmas time, Christmas Carol. That's hard to figure out what they'd be doing at Christmas, I know. Tonight, right now, I came, and I think Jeff is still there. Our superintendent's still at the middle school graduation at the high school. They sadly had to move it indoors. Tomorrow night, there's much better weather scheduled for the high school graduation, so we're looking forward to that. Town hall hours, the week of July 10th, will switch 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday, 8 to 11:30 on Friday. And high school sports, the boys' baseball team on their home field. Chris, it looks really good, the high school field. I mean, we did it right. It looks great. They got to play 3 games in the tournament. They're making it to the quarterfinals before losing. Golf won the ECC championship, the girls. Girls lacrosse won the ECC championship in lacrosse. They made it all the way to the state finals, and sadly did not win in that, but they made it to the state finals. So some very good things there. And that's it, unless anyone has any questions. None? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sherry. As noted, the superintendent is at the graduation. I don't know, Mariana, did you have anything else? Okay. Pretty much all the end of year activities have been all consuming, I'm sure. Okay, next is our Director of Finance, Kevin Gervais. You can have a PowerPoint for us.
All right. So we have 8 slides to go over tonight. So just diving right in, I'm going to give you an audit update. The single audits have been, I passed those out this afternoon via email to you guys. The 2022 audit, the auditors were here for about a week and a half. I have a call with them on Friday to just go over some open items and get us a status update with where we are with that. 2023 closeout, we'll discuss that a little bit. Just some ongoing issues or discussions to just keep everyone top of our minds. The grant fund, harbor management fund, there's going to be an operating transfer coming to the Board of Selectmen on the 21st. And then we've been talking about fund balance, the projections, and also looking at policies. So just going over in the finance office what we're working on. Sitting behind me to my right is our new deputy finance director / purchasing agent, Christy Malave. So Christy has really, the 40 hours, plus overtime she's been in our office the last couple weeks has really been able, has allowed us to catch up and just started closing out some of these items that have been lingering for a while. So with Munis, we've been working with Mariana Stevens at the back there as well. I'll give her a shout out. The 3 of us have been working with Munis, the implementation team there, to bring Munis online. I believe this project has been going on since like 2018, 2019. So based on conversations with our project manager, we're shooting for July 1st, 2024 to go live with everything except for the payroll human resource modules, which we're looking to implement in January 1st of 2025. This seems like far out, but I think there's over 20 or 30 implementation days scheduled already that are almost like either half day or full day. So this is quite a bear. to convert our systems over. Going down to banking, there's a few things we're doing here. One of Christy's first tasks when she came to East Lyme was to compile an RFP for banking services. That is now sitting with our treasurer, who is looking at that, making changes, comments. He'll bring that back into the office. We'll all sit down together, finalize that, and then put that out into the universe. Other things we've been doing with regards to banking and treasury services, consolidation of accounts, on top of implementing ZBA accounts. And we'll talk later. I have in here my interest income projection from February, just kind of see how I fared. And good news, I miscalculated by $200,000, and also the interest rates going up. But we can talk about that. Lease acquisition program. The RFP is due tomorrow at 2 p.m. So if you want to have a riveting afternoon on Thursday, come down here in this room, and tomorrow at 2 p.m. we'll be opening those bids. And that'll be Christy's first bid opening. So very exciting there. And then last but not least, we're just talking about updating policies and procedures. I've talked about this a little bit in some of the meetings, but one thing I'm focusing on now to hopefully implement before July 1st is kind of revamping and just putting under a microscope the cash receipts process here in town. So the idea being departments that process deposits, they're going to be putting the money in security envelopes, plastic bags. Sorry. It's not very environmentally friendly, but it's what we have to do. It's best practice on internal controls is segregate. The person that's recording the deposits shouldn't also be the same person doing the deposit, right? So that should be a segregation of duties there. So that's something Christy and I and our accounts receivable clerk have been working towards in the last 2 weeks. Oh, we're flying through slides here. Okay, other things we're working on in the finance office is bond issuance. This is a timeline of how we're issuing our bonds. So you can see we are, the next deadline here is this Friday. Will be our first draft of the offering statement. And I'm working with our municipal advisor, Munistat, and our bond counsel, Robinson and Cole, to compile this and make sure we get our bonds closed for August 10th. So we owe $5.9 million we have to pay off. Anyone have any questions so far? Okay. So I briefly touched on these. The second slide, the financial statements for 2021 are filed. We just received, I think it was yesterday, or the day before, the federal and state single audits made it through CLA's review team finally. And there's one more step for us to upload them to the state's website. So they should be filed by the end of the week. Fiscal year 22, like I said, the auditors were in here already. We are working with an external accountant to help reconcile some of the other funds besides the general fund. Really, we're working on right now, the CNRE, all the bonded funds, just all the little things we're cleaning up, and then we're going to work on the general fund. But it's easier to clean up the little funds before you tackle the behemoth. And then fiscal year 23, just working with different department heads, monitoring the budgets, and working with them to, if they have any pressing needs. So tonight, Public Works is going to speak about 2 of their pressing needs. So we were able to kind of say, okay, we have some available money in contingency. Let's push these 2 projects through. I'll touch this for 10 seconds. Grant fund we've talked about, harbor management fund we've talked about, operating transfers before the Board of Selectmen next week, and we've had ongoing conversations about the fund balance policy. Revenues. Keep in mind these are projections. We still have a month to go before year end, but when I look at the projections, I'm projecting $80,400,000 roughly in revenues and just shy of $80 million in expenses. So that would give us a projected net income of about $500,000. We know we have some counts that are over budget. We've identified those, we're monitoring those. And these are the numbers I used for our offering statement. So that's where these numbers came from. So if these numbers change drastically, like something, critical happens, I'll let you all know. But right now, this is kind of where I see things shaping up at the moment. So I spoke earlier about the interest income projection. This is the same slide I just had hidden for the last 4 months. So I was projecting interest income of $427,000. To date, we have collected $666,000. And when I looked at this, I said, okay, where was my error? Like, where did I make the mistake here? It's the investable balance versus the general fund cash balance. You can see there's a $10 million lag there. And so the idea being that there's money we have to leave kind of in, checking accounts, things like that, and they're not going to collect interest as, checks and, payrolls processed. Well, with the implementation of these zero balance accounts, that money is becoming investable, right? So we're collecting an interest, interest rate on that money. So that's where, every month, the last couple of months haven't been, $25,000 or $10,000. It's been significantly higher, and that's because the investable balance. So that's something, when I, project for next year, I'll tweak that a little bit. So that's all I had.
Okay. So, moving on in the agenda, new business, the suspense list. So Christine Dixon is here to talk about the suspense list.
So exciting. Good evening. My once a year, yeah, it is, my once a year appearance. Trying to get the suspense list and the uncollectibles under control. So this year, much different from last year. So we're now moving over to grand list year. So this year we're going to, we want to put on suspense 2019 motor vehicle supplementals, and personal property. I was hoping that's all I had to do, but then I remembered we had a tax sale last April, and there were 2 properties in that tax sale that East Lyme took back. So those back taxes on those 2 properties need to go on the suspense list. We'll never collect those. The 2019 grand list, still collectible. We still have our collection agency out there, and it dribbles in here or there, but for the most part, we can't find these people. It's been a few years now, so we're going to give it to tax serve and, hopefully put them on suspense so we can go forward. Okay.
And Christine, can you just review again how the tax collector works with, like, how that gets, how they get paid?
With the collection agency?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yep. So we hire the collection agency or contract. No, we don't hire them. They work to help us find these accounts. They have much better tools. They can find the new addresses. They have all kinds of programs. They find these people, and they do a really good job at getting our money. We do not, the fee doesn't come out of my delinquent taxes when they're paying them. The fee comes on top of my delinquent taxes, so when these people have to pay, they have to pay an extra 15% to the collection agency. So it doesn't cost the town anything to help us find these people. They not only help us collect, but if I have to serve tax warrants or bank executions, they're right there to help me along the way with everything. So they've been a real asset to our office. So we couldn't be happier with that, and it doesn't cost the town anything. It actually saves us in postage. We don't have to mail out these tax bills like we used to. They do everything. So I think it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I had, after going through the list, I was just curious. We had a real estate with back taxes going back to 2007, and so I was just, Christine explained to me that, we had put it out to bid, to auction, but nobody bid on it. So, so now the town ends up owning it. And so my question was, do we, you know, what do we, this is land that we don't get to collect taxes on, so what can we do there? And I was just wondering whether, you know, it could be that abutting properties didn't know that it was in the tax sale or available. Is there any
I
way
think
to?
what the problem with there, Denise, was those both were properties that not only did they have back taxes, they had back sewer assessment charges, so no one's going to bid on. And both of those are pretty much undevelopable property. So to purchase that, it just doesn't make sense for anybody. If the town takes possession of it, now the person may say, okay, I'll buy it, because the town can waive at that point all the other costs. But I think, Chris, am I right in that respect, that those, and that's just it, if someone bid on those, they'd have to pay the back taxes
Right.
and the back assessments, which, if you
Right.
can't develop the property,
Yeah.
you'd be spending good
So-
money for no good.
So could we reach out to the abutters and say, you know, we own this land, you know, are you interested? in-
I suppose we could talk about that, you know, but, you know, but I'd go through the attorneys as well as
Yeah.
that too, because we're not real estate people, so.
No. Just curious whether there was any opportunity to turn it into taxable property again.
Here again, if I'm going to purchase that in taxable, I want to be sure that I wasn't going to get assessed for something that's not developable, as far as sewer assessments and things like that too. So there would have to be some type of negotiations with the property owner or whoever would buy it to do that. But it wouldn't be much tax dollars at all.
All right, so then, do I have a motion to accept the suspense list?
Move to approve the consent list.
Suspense. Suspense list.
Oh, what did I say? Move to approve the suspense list recommended by the East Lyme tax collector of $152,190.04, dated June 14th, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussions, questions, further? Nope. All those in favor of accepting the suspense list signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries 500.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Next, under new business, special appropriation of $1,397,000. Do I have a motion?
Motion to, that the resolution entitled Resolution Making Appropriations Aggregating $1,397,000 for various public improvements and authorizing the issuance of $1,397,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriations and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose, a copy of which is attached hereto, is hereby adopted and recommended for approval by the legal voters of the town at town meeting. We waive reading the resolution in its entirety as it has been on file with the town clerk.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further information?
We've already reviewed this about
Yep.
7 times, and we still have a couple more times to go. So
Yep.
if you'd like, we can.
No,
I think
I'm
we're
very
yeah.
familiar with
We're
it,
off
so
from
as
it,
I
so.
think all of us are, but in case there was anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to.
No.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? No? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Motion carries. Next, under new business, another special appropriation. Do I have a motion?
The resolution entitled Resolution Making Appropriations Aggregating $1,130,000 for various Board of Education capital improvements and the authorization, the issuance of $1,130,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriations and pending the issuance thereof. The making of temporary borrowings for such purpose, a copy which has been attached hereto, is hereby adopted and recommended for approval by the legal voters at a town meeting. We waive the reading of the resolution in its entirety as it's been on file with the town clerk.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And I know Chris is here. I don't know whether you have anything further, or Jeff, I didn't see you walk in.
Same comments as Kevin.
Yep. Okay. Anyone have any questions for them? All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The motion carries 5-0-0. Next on the agenda, a resolution from Water and Sewer. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve so the following. Resolved that the resolution entitled, "A Resolution Making Appropriations Aggregating $2 million for the construction of modifications, upgrades, and improvements to the East Lyme Water Treatment Plant projects and authorizing the issuance of $2 million in bonds of the town to meet said appropriations and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose, a copy of which is attached hereto, is hereby adopted and recommended for approval by the Board of Finance and the legal voters of the town at town meeting. We waive reading the resolution in its entirety as it has been on file with the town clerk."
Do I have a second?
Second.
I did.
Yeah, Ben, our utility engineer, Ben is here. This is, we have to go through the town because water and sewer can't get its own bonds. So, but Ben is just going to point out really briefly what this is for.
Sort of a generalist.
Very general, and just to show roughly what we are talking about as far as where our water and sewer, our water infrastructure is located.
Yep, so good
Thanks,
evening.
Ben.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. Wanted to talk a little bit briefly about the projects that we have going forward, and also wanted to talk about that in the background of the ARPA projects that we've already completed through the board's approval and the town's approval. So we've been doing a lot of really successful upgrades to the water system, and wanted to highlight some of that tonight. Starting with well 5, which is now producing about 500,000 gallons per day, as opposed to the neighborhood of about 150 to 200,000 gallons per day when we requested some funding to improve those wells. We're now looking for an additional appropriation out of this bond for about 400,000 because the well is producing so much good water that we need to actually increase the amount of lagoon size that we need for the backwashing of the well itself. So that's actually the second major project, but the most major project and the most exciting, I think, is the elimination of iron and manganese from the East Lyme water system. We're going to be doing that by connecting well 2A to the Bride Lake treatment plant that's located in the vicinity of Bride Lake. There's 3 wells in this area, and thank you, Kevin. And it's the last remaining well in town that is untreated for iron and manganese. And as some of you may know, we've had issues with iron manganese in the past. It causes discoloration in the water and causing little black specks and things like that. Not a huge health concern, but obviously a big aesthetic concern, and something that we've been working on in the past about 10 years to really try to remove from the water. We did that primarily with the well 1 and 6 upgrade project, where we spent about $6 million about 5 or 6 years ago, and just completed a couple years ago in the area of East Lyme Middle School. So, really excited to finally finish the legacy that my predecessor started and improve the water quality in East Lyme.
Well, great. And I think the water quality is great, but now I understand why every now and then I get that black spot in an ice cube.
Well, that's what it is. Yep. Yeah. So we're real excited to get that. Real excited to get that through.
Yeah.
And we think this is a really great, cost-effective way to do it. We're actually GCing it in-house as well. We designed it in-house, and we're going to be overseeing the project. So, really exciting.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Ben?
That's good.
No?
Great. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The motion carries 5-0-0. Next is a special appropriation.
Move that the resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the Town of East Lyme, Connecticut, authorizing the execution and delivery of an equipment lease purchase agreement and schedules thereto for the acquisition, purchase, financing, and leasing of certain equipment, a copy of which is attached hereto, is hereby adopted and recommended for approval by the Board of Finance." We waive reading the resolution in its entirety as it has been on file with the town clerk.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
If anyone has any questions on what we've, like I said, this has been covered before, but if there's any question, be glad to answer them. And Mr. Bergraw's here, and Board of Ed is here as well, if you have any questions.
Anyone have anything additional? No? All those in favor of the special appropriation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 500. And next, we have a ratification of a transfer for an HVAC. So this is item F.
Move to approve a transfer of $32,286 from the town contingency account 01-01-120-200-500 to HVAC pump replacement account number 32-70-300-500-005 to allow us to replace the air handler at the East Lyme Community Center. Note, this requires a town meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Bergraw, would you like to come up and address this?
Thank you. Joe Bergaud, Director of Public Works. So they mentioned before that we had a few transfers, this one and there's one other one. Typically, Public Works really never asks for any money, but these two specific situations cause for it. The first one we're talking right now is this, the community center air handler. The town is a CNRE that we put aside, a bucket of money that we put in every year to build up so we don't have to come in forward with these. We've been getting hit pretty hard the last few years of these systems. We found out in March, end of March, that one of the systems is the main system that cools or heats the senior center, the activity room, the main area that, the senior center. And at the time, we got a price from one vendor, the vendor that we know, New England Mechanical, and it was $29,000, I believe it was in the package. We started to try to get multiple prices, and the longer you wait, it's hard even to get these people to give you prices. Then we got a second price. So the two vendors we normally use, MCOR and Dunkley, they finally got us a price. When Dunkley got back, MCOR was trying to raise their price, and they hold their prices for like a week. So it's very difficult to box these people in. We need to get this system replaced, and it's like a 25-week lead time. So I went and talked to Mr. Siri and Mr. Gervais, and they suggested the town still has some money in the contingency fund for the town. That bucket of money, the HVAC CNRE, has no money in it right now. It's going to get another $20,000 next year. So the thing that makes most sense is while we, in this current fiscal year, excuse me, when we have money in the contingency, to request this transfer so that we can not get behind and we have that money to go forward for the next system that breaks down. So we'd like to, if the board so chooses and approves this, and we have the town meeting, we can get this thing rolling and get, so, because that's the heat pump, air conditioning, air handling system is really struggling right now, and we want to make sure we get it fixed before it becomes an issue. So that's where we're at.
Anyone have any questions? So we have two quotes, and we normally look.
I can
at
waive
three.
I have the authority to waive it. In this case, we did, because we want to be sure. The worst thing that we could have is a senior center
Yep.
without heat or air
Agreed.
conditioning.
Actually, sometimes you're lucky if you get one these days.
Yeah, not just it. So many places now are hesitant to even give us a quote until they know that they have, we have the money already approved in hand. So the fact we got two, I'm not at all, And we noted that at the Board of Selectmen meeting too, that we're going with 2 quotes vice the 3.
Anyone have any other questions? All right, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries 500. And then we have,
So the second transfer request is not an air handler system, but it's tied to a American Rescue Fund project. So as Ben had mentioned before, we had three American Rescue Fund projects from the water and sewer side, and then we had the garbage truck, and we had the field service building, HVAC, the ventilation project. So that was the 5 major projects we had. We bought the garbage truck. We're working, we've done 2 of the projects on water sewer. We're trying to finish the 3rd. This is the last project that we have in the Public Works venue with American Rescue Funds to do this at the field service building. If you're familiar with that building, it's about a 33,000 square foot building. It's got a huge warehouse in the back where we keep all our trucks, and the ventilation system doesn't work. Trucks are on in the back, they could be idling, and there's nothing that pulls the carbon monoxide out of there. They have house, if you could envision that, the ceiling fan in your bedroom, that's the ones we have in a 30,000 square feet, these little fans that are like 3 feet long. You need like 15-foot blades to try to really move the air around. So we put this out to bid. The bids were higher than the money that we had available. They value engineered, the HVAC engineer I was working with, value engineered it, got it down to within $13,000 of the amount we had. So I'm requesting the 20 right now because we also need some money to just for the HVAC engineer that's working with us on the administration of this to get this project done. If we can get this transfer with monies that are in the contingency, we can knock this project out, get for the safety of the employees and just the general ventilation of that building, and we'll be well on our way to finishing all the projects that we were given authorization to from American Rescue Funds.
do I have a motion?
Move to approve a transfer of $20,000 from the town contingency account 01-01-120-200-300 to Public Works Department upgrade of the HVAC FSB account 85-70-007-700-701 to be able to finish the HVAC renovations project at the field service building. Note, this requires a town meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Burkott? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anything opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
500. Thank you. Next, the final under new business, appointment of auditor.
We're appointing for the 23 fiscal year, is that?
Or 20.
It says, the statement of work here says June 30th, 2022, but they're already working on that, aren't they? So it should be for 23.
Yeah.
Hold on, we're doing fiscal year 22.
We'll be finishing up 22,
We're doing
23.
fiscal year 23. That's fiscal year 23's audit. So July 1, 22 to June 30, 23.
Okay. Okay, so I'll make a motion to engage Clifton Larsenal and LLP for audit engagement services for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Concerns? I know that we've been working with them for the last couple of years. We really want to finish up everything, and makes sense that we follow through with them, I think.
Yeah, and I've had a couple conversations with some finance directors in Connecticut, and the pricing, when they've gone out to bid this year for auditors, some towns aren't having any audit firms bid on their jobs. So, and then other towns are having their audit prices at double. So, if they're willing, I think it's a 3% escalation. If we can get them for 3%, I think that's good. That's really good in this environment right now. They've been doing it for years.
Just, when they were here a couple weeks ago, or a month or so ago, it's the most thorough I've ever seen. They came in to ask me questions, they went to the town clerk asking questions. Karen said she can't even remember that being done, so I think the thoroughness of it, and plus the fact that things are a lot ready now, has made, I think we're very satisfied with what we're seeing so far.
Yeah, a lot of firms aren't doing this work anymore, which makes it even harder.
Yeah, crazy.
Okay, any other comments, questions? All those in favor of the appointment of the auditor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions, no. Motion carries 500. Unfinished business, we're continue to carry the fund balance policy. Lauren, you shared some information that you had gathered. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks we can try to fine tune.
So, let me just think here. So next couple weeks we have the lease, the bonds, and then the budget. So our next meeting is mid-July, and that's when we have our bond rating call. I think that would be good to have a draft. We could submit a draft, and then any comments we hear back, and then maybe vote in August on one. Right? Is that a good timeline?
Does that work?
Yeah. And so we could just kind of comments back and forth. We get a draft going that we like. We could do
Sounds
that.
good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next is public discussion. There is no public here, so move on to board comments. Anyone have anything to go to the? Nope. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.